made necklaces, earrings. I used to go to Owino, buy t-shirts, jumpers, punch them with chitenji like that and sell. So when I joined the university, I was doing it alongside
The
school.
Yeah.
So I got my internship in Gulu at the local government. So that is when things really changed. I felt like I had moved away from something that I really passionately loved, because there I was just working while doing data entry. And then, you know, I think it was just 2 or 3 weeks. I just told my sister, I don't think I am going to continue with this. I don't think I am going to continue with the internship, or I don't think this is something that I really want to do. She's like, wow, that is tough. So, yes, so...
And I just want to break that, you know, just interject a bit. So when that was going on, what was the relationship like between you and your dad? Because it is evident that your father wanted you to be something else and you wanted to be something else, so there's a conflict in there. Were you talking, were you resolving these things? You know, what was going on?
No. So my dad also is not a kind of person that, you know, you can get to sit. We grew up fearing him a lot. So most times he would do, you would know, for as long as you're in school, or for as long as you've gone to church, for as long as you're at home, you know, he's good. He's also naturally a quiet person. You find him at home reading the Bible, you know, he doesn't want noise. So if there's any slight noise, you're dead. So most times there was that distance. There was that distance. So when I was, so when I told my elder sister that I'm going to drop out, she's like, "You're dead." I told her yes. So so I come back at home. And I tell them I'm done with my internship. They're like, "Wow, that was quick." So my supervisor came, and it's done. I didn't tell him that I dropped out, and I'm also not going to continue with the remaining semester. So so after that, I continued doing my jewelry business, knowing that in my head I'm not going to graduate anyways. So so towards, I think, 2 months to the graduation, I called my sister. You know, I'm staying at home with my dad, but I called my sister who is in Gulu. You know what? You tell dad, I am not going to graduate. So so he's aware. So she tells him. So ask her, did you tell him? Then she says yes. I told her, but he's not saying anything to me at all. He's like, okay.
He's quiet. And you're not yet dead, meanwhile, eh?
No.
You're not yet dead.
Not yet. So every day I was anxious, you know,
waiting.
Maybe he's going to slap him, maybe he's going to do anything. But I tried so much to avoid him. If I'm like moving out, or if I hear he's moving out, you know, I get back to the bedroom, wait for him to move out. Then I also do the same. But having dinner like together as a family, he didn't say anything. So one day he wakes up furious and he's like, you know, I'm a disappointment. I dropped out of the university and look at what I'm doing and all those things. It's useless things. So so he told me I need to, you know, I need to either go back to the university and finish school. But him telling me to go back to the university and finish school, he told my sister to tell me so, because also me at home, I'm also a quiet person. So my sister told me, he said you should go back to school. So I told her, that is not possible. That is not something that I really want to do. So so we kept on having that conversation. He calls my sister calls me, you know.
But
like
you're
that.
home, man.
Yes, I'm home with him. Because I call her. Okay, that is still the same now. You know, sometimes I call my sister, it's like call Faith, and then I call him instead. So these days I don't call my sister, but I call him instead. And so after that, so when it was a challenge, he said he didn't want to be with school dropouts. So I should leave. So
how old were you at that point?
How old was I? Do I remember the age?
Third year must be about...
But that was in 2016. It was in 2016. I think I was 21.
It must be about 21, 22, because you're about getting out of school, university. Yes.
So I move out. I continue with what I'm doing with the jewelry and recycling, and it was working out well. And then a friend sent me a message and said maybe I should learn more knowledge about entrepreneurship, so I can push my business to a bigger business. So yeah, so that's how in 2017, sorry, I joined the Social Innovation Academy.
And that's how the story of
this
entire Transform Africa started.
Yes.
Faith, I want you to hold it right there. We're going to take a coffee break. This is the CEO Bench. We're talking to the newest CEO, voted, even with the vote from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, somebody sent 2 nominations from there. We don't know why. And many people on Facebook. So if you voted Faith Aweko, we want to hear from you. What are the comments, kisses and disses? Is she doing a good job? You wanted to know the story. The CEO Bench exists to bring you this kind of stories so that you can learn a thing or two about the person and also how you can change your life going forward. We're going to go for a break, and when we come back, the interview with Faith Aweko will continue after this break.
My name is Dr. Jinpo Olowo. Thank you for watching House of Talent Television. I love to inspire people. I love to talk about my experiences and how God has been able to use me in the different exposures. And through the leadership, through change management and transformation, I've been able to do a couple of things in my life. Now, are you a kind of person who is tired of your status quo? Do you want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? You know, change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SIL Uganda on number 0772443085, or check our website www.siluganda.com, or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jinpo Olowo, on Instagram, Jinpo Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
Welcome back from the break. This is the CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okila, and my guest this morning in the studio is Faith Aweko, who is the founder and the CEO of Transform Africa?
Reform Africa.
Reform Africa. And Faith, let's pick it up from where we were. You were telling us about the personal journey of growing up in the Kampala suburb and the foray into, Reform Africa. So you have communicated to your father, and the communication bit and the dynamics are very interesting of how you guys were communicating to your sister, to this and that. So let me ask you a question. that's pretty much about your growing up. And but I want to know from you, Faith, growing up, what did you ever want to be in life? I'll take you back a little bit.
Okay.
As a child. Yeah.
So growing up, I've always wanted to be a fashion designer. Yes.
And are you one now?
Yes.
So let's talk about what excites you as Faith Aweko into this journey where you are right now.
Okay, so what excites me is actually the moment I began doing social entrepreneurship, because that is something that I did not know about, is the moment I realized fulfillment in life, because knowing that the livelihood mostly of the people you work with, because we work with women in the communities who collect plastics, who sort, wash, and also we work with marginalized youths who we employ as tailors. So knowing that the livelihood of them depends entirely on you or on Reform Africa, that is where, that is what really gives me fulfillment.
Yes. And Faith, talking of that, while we're still in the personal questions of it, by the way, I just want to ask you a question about 2021. What is the best thing so far that's happened to you in 2021?
So in 2021, there are two things that happened to me. Focusing more on knowing myself, personal growth, and also really focusing on my fitness journey. I began it late last year, but this year, in January, I set up my fitness goals and realized I have to read a lot about fitness to better my knowledge, so I'm able to really transform into the person that I want to be. Okay.
And that said, most important thing that the people who nominated you would want to know is, you know, before I take you to the leadership journey, is the story of where you ended up joining the, you know, the social entrepreneurship class and stuff like that, and not going back to university. If you pick it up from there, what was the experience like when your father finally said, okay, I think I need to give up on this one, and then you ended up doing this other course where you went for? What was the experience like, and what did your father say to you?
So when I joined the Social Innovation Academy, I actually did not tell anyone except my siblings. I told them about what I'm doing currently with recycling, and how I've moved away from just making jewelry to now recycling plastic polythene. So they did not understand until I sent them samples, and they were excited. So after a while, I thought probably I would go home and show my dad what I do. But it wasn't a positive experience from him, because he really still, you know, even after that, he told my sister, do you think she still has a chance to go back to school? Like, yes. So I thought maybe I disappointed him, but by then also I was still starting up the company. But I had hopes that it will be great. So I remember the first flight I took to represent from Africa. I did not tell them, because I thought anyway, you know, but my stepmom was very furious. You know, she was angry. She's like, how would you not tell us?
So that we can come to the airport and
how would you not tell
walk
us?
To the airport to see you go, because
how would you not tell us? So I told her I thought probably you guys were not happy with what I do. And then she told me, you know, I'll always support you in any way. So there was also a time that my dad came to actually see what we do. Yes, he came with my sister, and he was very impressed. And also, when they get to see me on TV, on the newspaper, you know, they're the first people who call me that we saw you on the newspaper. Or if I tell them the show is on TV, they keep calling me, what time is it again? We cannot see it, what time is it? So that really says that they are getting to understand what I do, but with also being able to help them financially, because at first my dad thought, you know, this is just a small business that you would not be able to earn enough income, a living. So being able to see that I am sustaining myself, and I'm also able to sustain them as a family. So yeah, but still in his head, he still wants me to have a formal kind of education. Yes.
Wow. So let me just take you back, Faith. I think this is a very interesting, moment we're having on the CEO Bench today. And of course, I want to talk to all of you guys who are watching the CEO Bench from all across the world. I think this is a very fascinating story, personal journey so far being told by the person walking the journey, Faith Aweko, who is the founder and the CEO of Reform Africa, and recycling bags from the waste materials, things we throw away. And I think, let me tell you, Faith will be given an award for helping Kampala, because we really have quite a number of those in the city of Kampala. So we want to hear from you. If you have a comment, drop it up there, and we'll definitely be able to read it. And Faith, I'm very much interested in taking you back before we go into the leadership part of the show. Your dad told you to, get out of the home, and you go. So, how were you able to move out, and how long were you out of home without talking? We hear this story a lot from different people, and sometimes we don't understand how to go about it, and the reconciliation part of it, which we're definitely going to go into, the leadership, change management and transformation, and how you're able to lead yourself out of that, and the things that happen. But I want to know specifically, and of course to all our viewers all across the world, somebody could be going through the same thing and they don't know how to go about it. And perhaps their self-esteem is being put down very much, because the world says you must have a formal education. You don't have a formal education, but formal education often tends to kill creativity. And when a creative person is boxed, like in your case, you are able to get out, but there are people who are not able to get out of that situation. So I want to know this experience, that managing the relationship between your father, going out home, what were you doing, where did you get the money, what happened?
So it wasn't actually an easy experience. Yeah. Because my dad is also a kind of person who tells you, I need you to leave home abruptly. There's no plan, and he can give you either a week or even a few days to just leave. Wow. So I realized once you also immerse in the pain, you would be miserable. So I realized that is something that has happened, so I have to move on. I had a few savings, but my siblings, my elder sister was there for me because I didn't have anything. So she sent me saucepans, she sent me a mattress, she sent me a blanket, she sent me almost everything I needed to start. And then she also gave me some money. And my brothers also did the same, and I also had my savings. So once I was able to pay for 3 months rent, so from day one, I started to work hard to really be able to, if it's like the 4th month, I have already the money for the rent.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not very easy for girls, and I'm sure there's a girl outside there. Such situations are usually for boys. We're good. We can go out, we can bustle thing up, and do whatever we want to do. Boys are usually, but for girls, they're not quite a very easy journey. Yeah. So if you would just dive into it. As a girl, how did that make you feel?
So I had, I was renting next to my friend, so I had friends around who I would talk to, who would be there for me. But also I just realized, I have to focus my life, I have to focus on business. So I was very, I think that is also how my Facebook grew, because I tried as much as possible to sell things because I was only selling actually on Facebook, to sell my products on Facebook. So being busy also kept me going, to not really get to think a lot. But I'd also kind of like, after my sister sent me things, I also kind of cut off, family and communication. So I just, yes, because most times my sister's like, are you fine? Do you have money? So that was making me miserable most of the time. Yeah. So I just cut communication, and I just focus on working, because that is what kept me going.
Wow. Well, you're hearing the story coming from Faith Aweko right there, the story of personal resilience, if we would say it, and persistence and consistency in the process to be able to build, Reform Africa. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, Faith and I are going to dive straight into leadership. Leadership is what everyone needs to go. And before you know it, if you don't have leadership, you are dead. If you have leadership, you succeed. We want to know from there whether Faith was being a leader self-leadership? What are the tricks and intricate, stuff like that she was able to go through to get her to where she is, and to get her to where she had to, sort of like move out from that situation going forward? And this is what the CEO Bench is here for. Stay right there. We'll be right back after the break.
There's a lot that is involved in the civil society organizations. There's leadership in itself, there's management of processes, there's management of the human resource, there's fundraising, there's research. It's a lot that needs to be done, and many times there is a feeling that is too much for a woman, because she has other traditional roles that she needs to do as at home. Yeah. So many times as people are looking for leaders in civil society organizations, the priority is usually given to men, because of our society that feels that men have the time, men have the capacity, men have the ability to lead, to take this organization to greater heights. And women, there will be a problem. They will have to go to maternity leave. They have issues. They are too emotional. They have not done the courses that are good enough for leaders. They don't have time to go for extra learning, or to go for work outside Kampala, because they have to tend to their children. So there's too much that society has tied around a woman. And it's true, we have these traditional roles that we have to do, but does not in any way mean that women cannot lead in these spaces. No.
Welcome back. This is the CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okela. In the studio is Faith Aweko, a lady who sprang out of Naguru to the rest of the world, recycling, plastic waste, and what we called kavera in Uganda, and making very beautiful stuff out of it, and selling us for use to make our livelihood really better. Faith, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Let's go straight to the leadership journey. Leadership requires that the person is aware of who they are. And self-leadership is key to come out from the situation where you are, where you're trying to say, Dad, I want to do this, and Dad is saying, no, daughter, I want to do this, and there's a crossroad. And we want to know from that point of view. Of course, self-leadership, you can see that you are doing a great thing by leading yourself, and you're pointing yourself and giving yourself meaning. I want to ask you a very simple question here on leadership. On the leadership, what is your understanding of leadership and the definition of leadership by Faith Aweko?
Okay, so leadership to me is being able to lead a group of people from one place to another, mostly like for me to make sure people are better versions of themselves from the time that I've met them and throughout the time that they are with me until the time that they are out of my reach.
Okay. On that note, Faith, who is a leader to you? Are you one? And if yes, what type of leader are you, given your journey? So
I am a leader because I lead a group of about 20 people. I'm one of like a coach kind of leader because I try as much as possible to see that people learn their potentials and they be the best versions of themselves, because sometimes we get women who you see potential in them, or also women who come like they really want to work as tailors, but then you realize they would actually be better in this kind of field, or in fusing the plastics. Yeah. Also, we find people who have no skill at all, but they come, hey, I want to wash plastics, but you tell them it will actually be better if you come and learn this kind of skill. And from there and then, we find that most people who are fusing our plastic bags also learn to tailor, and then now they are supervising other women. So that is the kind of leadership that that I portray, so that people can move from, you know, from the level they are, yeah, to become better and better in what they do, or even get to do more.
Okay, so as a leadership coach, by definition, you are actually a transformative leader. A transformative leader is one who, you know, sees what it shall be like and works up to what is that needs to be done to get there. But also, transformative leadership approach focuses first on the human being as a person, which we can see in you, and then with the view of turning followers into leaders, and of course impacting their lives and making sure that they actually have something meaningful. So that's very good. So you're a transformative leader by nature, from what we see. That's a good one. So Faith, on that note, what is your understanding of leadership at the personal level, and of course at the family level, given the situation you've gone through with your dad and your family, at the society level, and of course as a corporation? Now you're building a corporation, you're building an organization that is reaching out to many people. Is already 20 people you're employing, meaning that those 20 people have got people who depend on them. So when we multiply the 20 people individually, the chain are reaching far more people than the 20 that you have at the moment. But we want to understand from you, what is your understanding of leadership? Personal leadership, you know, self-leadership, I mean family leadership, society leadership, and of course, you know, the organization.
Okay, so for me, it's thinking now less of yourself and thinking more of others, you know, to grow them, but also know that the decisions that we make don't only affect me as a person, but they're going to affect the organization as a whole. And also putting in accountability for every action that we make. You know, it's going to affect me, yes, but it's also going to affect generally the company, like for example, Reform Africa. So if there is any decision that I'm making, it doesn't have to be based on individual interests, but it has to be made based on my co-founders, based on our workers, based on their children. Like for example, if you are going to lay off some workers because of COVID, you know, do we just think of laying off the workers, or do we also think of their families, or their children who have been dependent, you know, on their mother, like for the financial support in the family? Yes. Wow.
Well, we want to know from you, Faith, and of course not just you, Faith, but also everyone who is online. I mean, you've had Faith Aweko. I mean, that last part of the leadership question actually just blows somebody up. And there are 5 different types of leadership approaches that we have in the world. And I want you to vote for Faith Aweko right now and tell us which one is she using best and why, given her explanation on this part of the leadership approach and the leadership question. 1, there's what we called, you know, autocratic leadership approach. Is she an autocratic leadership approach? Do we understand what autocratic leadership approach is? And number 2 would be a transactional leader or a transactional leadership approach. Okay? Is Faith Aweko a transactional leadership approach? Is she, you know, a autocratic? And number 3 would be a democratic leader or leadership approach. Is she democratic? Is she applying the same approach to her leadership skills? And number 4 would be what we call a charismatic leader. Charismatic leader. Is she a charismatic leader? And if yes, does she use the, you know, the charismatic leadership approach in her day-to-day running of the business or leading herself. And number 5 would be transformative leadership approach. Is she a transformative leadership approach? Is that your view of her? We want to know from you. Please write us the comment down there, and of course make sure that we'll get back to you. I want to also inform all of you that the CEO Bench is doing a very special thing for the first time to Faith Aweko. That this particular interview is actually streaming on our own pages. One, on our Facebook page. She's live on our Facebook page, courtesy of House of Talent, and of course, streaming on the Reform Africa page. So please go there, share far and wide, and support the girl child, as we always say it. I know all the the women, all the people who support the women, the girls' rights are going to come and, you know, and say, you saw what they're doing when Kadaga was standing. Yes. So, but Faith, let's go back to the change management as part of our show. I'll ask you a question before we take another coffee break, just to go through this. So the CEO Bench is about leadership, change management, and transformation. Now, you had a journey before getting to where you are right now, and that journey requires you to go through as a child, you know, go through school, understanding yourself. Like you said, when we were young, there was mwala, you know, how do you call it? That's what they call it. That wet stuff in the trenches everywhere, water would flood, come, you will clean. As a child, you didn't understand. But when you reach a certain point, you began to understand what it was. Now, senior 4, you said, I started to see that actually there's a problem here. We're just not being organized. KCC say, we take this, for us, we wait for it when the rain comes. And then later on, when you get to university, says, you know what? I'm certainly not going to do statistics and finish. Whoever want to drop out of a statistics class? You could have been at the statistics house. You could have been a minister of finance. Your father had big dreams of seeing you as a minister in the government of Uganda, or working for you and working for. Now it makes sense when somebody from IMF votes you to come on the CEO Bench to hear your story. Because I was trying to make waste management and IMF, this money and this, it doesn't make sense. So perhaps it does begin to make sense. But so we're going to go into that change management. What is your understanding of change management?
So change is moving away from the position that you are right now to something else, like maybe also shifting from one place to another, or yeah. So change is something broad, but moving from where you are right now into a better position.
Wow, that's your understanding of change. Okay, I want to just say this, Faith. If that is your understanding of change, how were you able to communicate the change that happened in your life, both from your, you know, sister before you decided that you're going to turn around your life? Did you think through the process? What were your strategies to communicate that, you know, guys, I'm stopping here, I'm not going to continue with this? Because there's also another person who is going through the same thing, who doesn't know how to go about it, and they want to learn from you. Number 2, we want you to tell us, how were you able to manage that change between you and your father and your mother and your siblings? That's managing change. That's not a very simple change. You said it's very difficult to deal with. How were you able to do so?
So as humans, I think change is inevitable because life gives us change in many ways. Also, like during this COVID, people have had to change how they lived their lives to adapt to the situation. So most times also when change is calling us and we don't change, we remain in more of like a pain because we are not trying to adapt to the new life that is calling us. So most times also, like for me, when things weren't working out the way that I wanted them to be, and I wasn't being who I was then. So I realized I have to change in order to be the person that I'm destined to be.
Yeah.
But so managing it with with myself wasn't also easy because I also did not actually know what I was doing. I did not know who I was, or if actually what I'm doing is wrong or right. Because also now people are used to you in this kind of way. So if you're changing, mostly like the friends at the university, you know, it was different because most of them are like, you should not really drop out of school. Business is not easy. So I had to also try and cut them because they knew me. They were not serving the new person that I was becoming.
Yeah.
And also they were not trying to understand me. Yeah. So also in change, I realized I have to cut some people off so I can concentrate to being the better version of myself, and also be able to really understand the kind of person that I am becoming. Maybe it's also going to need new environment. Like when I went to Sina, I realized, you know, this is where I am meant to be. And the community around were the same people, refugees, former street children who are trying to transform their lives. So also that community helped me a lot to understand who I was as a person, because also as a leader, if you don't know yourself, then it is hard to really lead other people. So that being able to surround myself with the people who are going through the same life changes or experiences as me made me actually find purpose in life. Yeah.
Wow. Faith, change always can be difficult, and people can find it as something very challenging in life, and in most cases some people can take a wrong turn, and sometimes realizing that you need to make a certain decision that is good, that is not going to affect many people, are also quite a challenge. I want you to dig deep a little bit more onto that part when you had to make a decision to cut your family off, and for some time. How long? Why did you arrive at that position of, I need myself, I need to cut these people off, and how were you going to get back to them?
Like I was in a confusion state, and the more people call, the more people talk to you, the more advices you get. You just, you know, like it confuses you more and more. So I wanted to just concentrate, you know, but also with that, I was praying every day to God to really redirect my life, and to really, so with prayer, that helped me a lot. But being in the environment, in the right environment that I was in PG, also gave me a clue that, you know, I am getting to where I want to be, or I am right here in this situation or in this place because I am meant to be. So when I cut off my family, after that, so I remember one time my my stepmom called me, and she's like, it's better, you know, you start coming home and tell me what you are doing and all those things. So yeah, so the first time I came home was when my sister was going to have an ekuchala.
Yes, how long was that? What was the period before you could return home?
I left home in 2016,
and
I came back home in 2017.
Those were 2 years. 1 year?
1 year.
Yeah, 1 year, 1 year,
yes. It was after a year.
Yeah.
Yes, so...
Of no talk, nothing, just quiet.
Yes, but when I came home also, it was I was a transformed person, because my stepmom told me, okay, so I really think you've changed a lot, and that was something that I wanted to hear, you know, from people. And when I met a few friends from campus, it was still the same. But when they're also seeing what I was doing, they were happy with what I'm doing. So that also gave me hopes.
Okay. You know, it's something that we need to talk about here, Faith. I see the great work, but I want to just take you back to that change a little bit. I'm your friend, and you're going to have to tell me that you're making a decision not to talk to me. How do you communicate to Eddie Okila and say, you know what, Eddie, I just need myself, I need to be me, I need to do me, and first give me some time. How do you communicate to Eddie Okila or to your friends, or to and how do they take that information in? Do they take it in good light? I mean, what was their, how were you able to communicate that? Because I need the intricate details of that communication, because it's key to helping somebody who is out there move from one point to the next. Yes. How were you able to tell your friend like Eddie Okila that, hey, you know what, I need some space? Because it's not easy to communicate that I'm changing, and then you come back when you're totally changed and everybody's saying, hey, I think you've changed. did you communicate? How were you able to communicate that very complicated communication of, please give me some time? Some people will say, you feel you're proud. Some people will say, I think she's depressed. Some people will say, I think she's running cuckoos, she's running mad because you're withdrawing from people. How do you communicate that kind of change? How were you able to communicate it in your case?
Okay, so with my friends, it was easier by just doing by just cutting myself off of what we used to do, maybe hang out with friends. You know, every time they call you, you tell them you would not like. So many times if friends call you many times and you're turning them down, they also just ghost out on you. So that was easier for them, but others also automatically, since I am not, you know, pursuing statistics, if I am not like on the journey into the professional world, they just cut you off.
Yes.
So with family, it was a little bit difficult, mostly with my siblings, because we were united, but I felt like I needed to just be me. So I just told them I just need time off. Or most times, you know, I kind of also changed my phone number and I would call them.
Yeah.
Like my sister, my younger sister, I told her, let me be the one to be calling you. Just don't call me, let me be the one to be calling you. But that also meant I wasn't going to call her.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes.
Yeah.
But I just also communicated to them the situation that I'm in. Me, myself, I also do not understand. But I am very sure that, you know, things are going to get clear, you know, day by day. Yeah, because most times you also do not identify yourself at that certain period of time.
Yeah.
And you don't know if you need therapy or if you're running crazy or so yeah. So most times it's difficult, but with time, when you're on that personal growth journey, then you're able to identify and get to know yourself better. And then when you come out as the better version of yourself, then people would actually see. I think it was actually great that, you know, that she went to Mpiji. It was great that she took on this journey because the faith that we used to know wasn't actually serving her purpose anyways. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're talking about change management on the CEO bench, and my guest this morning, or my guest this afternoon, or this night, or this evening, depending on which part of the world you are, is Faith Aweko. She's a girl who started out as, you know, thinking that I'm a creative mind, and so I need to be in a creative space. But yet, you know, the world says, no, 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 no. You are supposed to be statisticians, that's how they call them. Yes, and go into statistics, study statistics, and, you know, become this person, and, you know, in a formal way. But that wasn't. So she's talking about the change management from that point, the foray into where she is right now, which is not a very simple journey. We want to hear from you. Do you have an experience like Faith? Are you learning something from Faith? The CEO bench exists to bring you intellectual rigor, fusing it with the common challenges of life every single day, so that you can be a person of you know, great repute, moving up. The challenges that you face will take you forward. So the CEO bench is here to bring you such stories, and today Faith Aweko is the person on the bench. Faith, we're going to take a break, but before we go for that break, I want to ask you one more question. Many people who go through what you're going through as CEOs and going forward, some people end up in drugs, others end up, you know, abusing substance, and so many things. Would you just share quickly how were you able to safeguard yourself away from it? Others have ended up into the, you know, for girls, the old trade, as we say in the holy books. I'm sure you know the trade I'm talking about. Some have gone into that road and ended up in prostitution, and some people have taken advantage of them as girls. We hear some horrendous stories when something like that happened to girls. But here you are, and the story seems to be different. Were you able to keep yourself away from all of these troubles that were competing for your mind, and yet still, you know, steer clear?
Okay, so one thing, actually two things. One, I didn't want to be laughed at. So most times when you are moving on a self-growth journey, and then you back off, people will be like, we told you, all those things. So I didn't want to have that, to be a loser. But also, I really thought, you know, I have come far throughout school, I've always wanted to be this. So I didn't want to give up. So giving up wasn't an option. I didn't want to reach an extent and I'm like, I give up. Yet this is something that I've always wanted to really do ever since I was a child. So I'm like, you know, there's no giving up. And then, you know, I don't want my fellow classmates to laugh at me that I dropped out of the university, my business has failed, and I'm now a failure.
Wow. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll dive into our last part of the show, which is transformation. Faith Aweko, Edio Killer, right here on the CEO bench. If you have not picked a word or two from Faith to help you, perhaps you need to go back, play the video again, think through it, and think through your life and see which part of this interview is actually very important for you. Faith and I are going to be back after this break. This is the CEO bench.
Even people are stuck in their own ways. For people who have had a chance to, say, work out of the country, you're dealing with people from different backgrounds, different cultures. Their view of the world is different. You know, you cannot change that. The best you can do is get into that space and find a way of navigating through that. So I don't believe that what I've learned necessarily is going to go into, say, a big organization like Stanbic and change it. If it might guide me along the way in terms of how to navigate, in terms of how to influence the leaders of that organization, but not necessarily kick the front door and change everything. In fact, I think that's disastrous because you might just end up going backwards. So I think for me is allow yourself to learn from the environment and then adapt and change from within.
A lot of time we see people, Daniel, who go into organization and just start changing, and you find people flying from this organization to another and says, man, the new boss was come, I can't stay there. And this happened. Is it they themselves who are a problem, those who are running away, or actually the bosses come and want to change everything? Have you ever been in an organization and people have viewed you like that? And if yes, how were you able to deal with it? If not, had you learned these tricks before going inside there so that when you arrived, you are more warmer to people than more, you know, cold to other people?
Yeah, I think in most cases where, and we've seen this, even in Uganda, where a CEO comes and tries to change everything overnight and the organization suffers. You lose your talent, the good people leave the company, they go to other organizations, you know, your numbers start going down. It's a no-brainer. The good ones are the ones who quickly realize, oh, this is different, I need to adapt. I mean, I always hear people who have worked in Tanzania. Tanzanians are different. The way they do things at their pace and how they
shift and move things,
relate among each other is very different. So if you come with your speed and you know, and forcefulness, you'll get a culture shock. They'll edge you out slowly in their nice way. Before you know it, you've left the company. You know, I remember earlier back in our breweries, we had similar people who used to come from South Africa at the time. Because Africa is obviously very fast-paced. It's about push, push, push. And a lot of them suffered. In fact, a time came when they said, you know what, this thing is not working. Let's empower now Ugandans. That's how you guys came through.
The CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okela. Faith Aweko. Faith, welcome back from that break. I want to take you straight to transformation. What does transformation mean to you? I will explain transformation in a very simple way. You know, you've been doing a lot of work, and the work you've been doing is leading to transformation. You yourself, you said you've transformed. But what is transformation to you?
Okay, so transformation is changing from who you thought, like for example, from who I thought I was or who I was before to a better version, or to actually a more defined version of myself.
Yeah. And in that context, we want to dive straight away to the work you've been doing. Tell us more about, you know, Reform Africa. Why Reform Africa? What is the inspiration behind the name, and what is it doing? Where is it leading us? You founded it, you're the CEO, you got a huge nomination towards this. Obviously, you were a lady on a journey to some greatness in future.
So when we were beginning, I shared a little bit of a story of the background of Reform Africa. But Reform Africa is a social business in Uganda here that upcycles plastic polythene waste bags into durable, sustainable, and waterproof bags and accessories. So like I said, I grew up from one of the slum areas in Uganda, that is Naguru Go Down. And I was very greatly affected by plastic pollution as a kid, because when it rains, my family and the whole neighborhood would think of disposing of waste in the trenches, and this blocked the trenches, and this was the major cause of flooding. And so as I grew up, I thought, why wouldn't I work on something on the flooding and the waste pollution in the slum areas? So Reform Africa began basically as a research in 2018 to see how waste is produced, how waste is polluted, and how waste is recycled in Uganda. And in Uganda, we produce over 500 tons of plastic waste every day, and 51% of this waste is not collected.
Wow.
And yes, 51%. And this is the waste that ends in the trenches, in the open places. When we are traveling, we are throwing it on the roadsides, and also in the rural areas.
You always see people just, you know, jump off their, you know, windows or their vehicles and just throw it, but the borders drink and throw it,
And in the rural areas, plastic is left to decompose on its own, yet plastic takes more than 1,000 years to really fully decompose. Holes are dug, and all trash is poured, then it's buried. So that is what we think, you know, that waste is gone, yes. But this is taking 1,000 years. Now in Kampala, the highly, one of the high causes of air pollution is burning of waste. And with this, we are also burning plastic. And this is causing toxic fumes in the environment. So when we did research on the causes of plastic pollution, and when we went to the solutions, we realized Uganda, we recycle less than 1% of our waste, yet we are producing over 500 tons. And this is also just plastic, like the plastic bottles that are just collected, shredded, and shipped to either China or India. So our recycling capacity in Uganda is very low, and we also realized there is really no solutions, or a few solutions for the plastic bags, the caveras. Yet these are the ones that are blocking the trenches. And also these are the ones, like Uganda, we are highly agricultural. But when these plastic bags come in contact with our agricultural soils, they don't allow water filtration in the soil. So that means also there is low produce, or low quality of produce. So we started to research more on plastic bags with zero experience, because we all come from different backgrounds.
How many are you, by the way?
I can share about my co-founders. I have two co-founders. One is a refugee from DRC Congo, from Nachiva refugee camp. In DRC, it's really worse than Uganda, because anywhere that is an open place is where waste is, you know, dumped. And in the refugee camp, it's still the same. So another one is Nalima Shamim from Bwaise. We all know Bwaise is one of the highly flooded areas in Uganda. But also the trenches, you find plastics all over. When it finishes, when the rain is done, you see that plastic is lit, like plastics bottles are floating, you know, they are floating. So, and this is the plastic that is thrown in the trenches, but as well as plastic that we throw on the roadsides, because when it rains, the water brings it all to us.
So is that what the ladies are collecting that we're seeing on the screen?
So yes, so the ladies collect plastic bags. Those are caveras.
Is that you, by the way?
Yes.
Okay,
That is me, and those are one of the two ladies who wash.
You. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Go on.
So yeah, so we basically started to really do research on plastic bags, how we can recycle, and how we didn't have the idea of the bags in our minds. But when we were in PG doing research, we discovered kids in PG walk long distances to go to school. And with the unforeseen rainy seasons, you find the rain is going to hit them. Some of them have their books in their hands, and others have the books in the kavera, plastic bags. When we interviewed one of their parents, they said that they can afford to buy a kavera of 100 shillings or 200 every day for a kid. But they aren't able to afford to buy a bag of 20 or 30K. Because having 20K or 30K once is expensive. But them having 100 shillings or 200 to buy a plastic bag is cheap. But yet at the end of it all, at the end of the day, either the plastic bag is torn because it is very light, or the kid has just lost it. So that's also what's causing pollution. But at the end of it all, the mother is spending actually more money because a term has 3 months. That is about 80 to 90,000 every term for plastic bags. So we thought if we'd make a bag for the kids to have their books safely, because also our bags are actually waterproof, so the kids can also walk through the rain and go to school without their books getting wet. But at the same time, we wanted to provide dignity for the kids to have their bags, their books in the bags. Yeah, that's how we zeroed down to.
So
make
that's
bags.
actually one of your products we're seeing on the screen?
Yes.
All right, so how much do they go for?
So we make backpacks. Backpacks, people can also use them to have like your laptop.
So for example, like
and
that
come
one
to and come to work. That one is 60,000.
Is it a backpack? Is that
yes, that's a backpack. It's a space for a laptop, and it's mostly actually used by tourists because they get to travel, and you have your camera, your phone, all safe in case you're going to Bwindi and it's raining. You don't have to worry
because it's made out of the recycled bag. And then those ones? Those ones
are cross bags. Yes. We also make school bags for the kids, and for every backpack that you buy, we give out one free school bag for a rural kid in Uganda. But we also work with organizations and NGOs that support production of also bags that we donate. Last year, between November, December, and January, we donated 1,000 bags in the refugee camp with support from UNFPA. They funded the production and distribution of the bags.
Wow.
Yeah, to Shakatu refugee camp.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, that's the story of Faith Aweko right there, our CEO on the CEO bench today. And of course, we want to say thank you very much for being part of the show. Faith, just before we wind up the show, I want to just take you through some very interesting experiences that I see you've gotten here. And I want to go to the awards. What was it like when you were announced as the award winner? That day, and they said, Faith, you are the winner of this award, and going back to where the journey started and your dad, did you announce this to your parents?
No, I didn't. Yes, I didn't announce. So the first award that we got was Social Impact Award. Yes, Social Impact Award happens every year. It's global. It happens every year. And in Africa, it happens in Uganda. So we were the winners of Social Impact Award. Most of the awards we've actually got has been funding, financial support. So that has helped also boost us as a company, more especially also during this COVID, that we are able to pay rent and we're able to pay our workers.
And support those who are working with you.
Yes.
Okay. You have reformed that place. I'm seeing a house on the screen. Tell us about that. Is that your office? And that's how your homes are built? What's this?
So that was our workshop in Mpigi before we moved to Entebbe.
Okay.
Yeah, that is just our workshop.
So was that built out of the
plastic bottles?
Yes.
Yes.
The whole house?
That is, yes. The Social Innovation Academy.
Yeah.
All the houses are built out of plastic bottles.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And Faith, what would be your parting shot today? Where do you see, first of all, before you do the parting shot, where do you see yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 50 years from now? And how would you like to be remembered as the founder of Reform Africa? Where do you see Reform Africa?
So, so there are two things. Where I see myself is someone of inspiration, to be able to inspire people, especially women, to reach out to their full potentials, because I believe a lot of women have dreams, a lot of women have potentials that are seated there, you know, because they are afraid of change, or they are afraid of where to start from. So I want to be able to share my story fully, so that people can be inspired, and they, you know, when they become better versions of themselves, and also live to their fullest potential. And with Reform Africa, we would like to open up a recycling hub, because currently we just go trained in schools, but we want to open up a recycling hub where people come and learn about recycling. And we've partly moved away, not really moved away, but we are not only actually now recycling plastic polythene bags, but we've now, because that is soft plastic, we've now moved to recycling hard plastic. We acquired machines from Plastic Renewer in Austria that makes machines that recycle hard plastics. So we're currently making pegs for hanging clothes online, but that is made out of broken buckets and broken chairs.
Wow. Faith, thank you very much. Let's talk about health and fitness. You said you dived into health and fitness last week. In fact, one of the people who nominated you is called Diwato Chom. He's a friend of mine, but also transformed his life when he went to do his master's in the UK at Swansea University. He came back a different person altogether, no stomach, looking really good, and then so he was one of the people who nominated you, among about another 15 other people who nominated you to come. This is not Okila Health and Fitness, this is the CEO bench. So we won't talk very much about the Okila Health and Fitness things there. That's totally a different interview altogether. But is it important? Why did you pick on, you know, looking after your health and put your health goals and fitness goals up? What turned around your mind to think about this? Not very many people find that very useful for them when they are in this kind of work. Okay,
so I can first share like what fitness has helped me do. So fitness, putting away the goals of being fit and all that, it has helped me to really boost my confidence and discipline in life, consistency, because I believe if I am able, because I'm a bodybuilder, so I do lift weight, but if I am able to really push myself to lift from 5 kg, 10 to 20 to 50, I believe I am able to really, you know, if I set my mind on something in the professional world, I am able to achieve it, because I was able to achieve it through fitness. So, yes, so with also that, I've learned a lot through, I've learned a lot through fitness, mostly to like, it's been a personal growth journey to get to know my potentials, to get to know my limit, because I also realized actually human beings, we are limitless. Most times it's only our body that is tired, but our mind, it's only our mind, yes, tired, it's only the mind that is tired, because sometimes I get to push myself, you know, I tell my coach I am tired, it's like, you are not tired. So I realize fitness is just a mind game, and if you are able to really work on that, then in the professional world it will just be like a walkover.
Wow. Well, if you fear fitness, Faith has it there for you, and we always say that a fit mind is a mind that is going to be successful, and you cannot be productive when you are, sick. And I've always told people, you can't make money when you are sick. Neither can you spend money when you are sick, nor can your productivity improve when you are unwell or when you are sick. You cannot be, broke and unfit. Certainly God will reject you. Yes. So the point, but that's my philosophy. Faith, we're gonna have to bring the interview to a close, but I have a question here for you from one Frank Tugume. Says the best show on Friday and in the country. Welcome to the CEO Bench, guys. Thank you very much. But Faith, I have a question for you. How do you manage losses while doing businesses? As an entrepreneur, now that's a question for you. How do you manage losses while doing businesses? Coming from Frank Tugume.
So, like in business, you have to have an open mind, because with loss, I take it as a lesson. I try as much as possible, business and personal life, at my lowest, or if I'm experiencing loss, which lessons can I really learn from this? Yeah. That helps me to make better decisions in life in the future, because yes, I can have maybe a loss of 10M, but probably in the future I might even have a loss of 100M. But so experiencing such helps me to get ready for even more bigger challenges in the future. Okay. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Faith, for coming to the CEO Bench. And what is your parting shot today? If you're to leave us, what would you say to the people who nominated you? What would be the message to the people who nominated you to come to the CEO Bench? If you look into that camera, yes.
I would like to thank them. I would like to thank everyone who nominated me to be on the CEO Bench. It's a privilege to sit here and get interviewed, but also thank you to everyone who is listening. But my call is for people to be able to discover their potentials and reach their highest version.
Wow. Thank you very much for coming to the CEO Bench, Faith, and thank you very much everybody who nominated Faith to come to the CEO Bench. I want to say a shout out to all the people in the diaspora, in the US, in the UK, in Australia, in Denmark, and the guys in Nairobi, Kenya, the guys in Tanzania, and of course my brothers and sisters from South Sudan, and of course you've got some nomination coming from Ethiopia and from Egypt. So Faith, thank you very much for touching lives. People who have interacted with your bags have nominated you. And until then, we want to say thank you for coming, and thank you to everyone who have been part of the CEO Bench. Until next week, keep it the CEO Bench and remain safe and found. Make sure you are learning from people who are doing it and growing places. My name is Eddie Okila, Faith, and we're signing out.
Itaranto. Hariho umutware yaratunze cyane afite n'abagaragu, kera kabaye agira uruzinduko mu kindi gihugu, ahamagara abagaragu be maze abasigira ubutunzi bwe. Umwe amuha itarane eshanu, undi amuha ebyiri, undi amuha itarane imwe. agiriye kabiri maze umutwara arazinduka maze babagaragu batangira gukoresha za carano nk'uko shebuja yazibasigiye uwahawe shana aragenda arazigenza agenzura amesha hano uwahawe ebyiri nawe abigenza atyo agenzura ebyiri maze wa wundi wahawe imwe aragenda acukura icobo ayishamo ya tarano aratinyuka arayitabaye nuko imitsi irayitindira ataha maze shebuja mu kuzindukuruka abarana nabo ibyo yabasigiye uwahawe shana araseruka ati databuja mwiza wansigiye shanu uzungutse izindi shanu uwahawe ebyiri nawe araseruka ati databuja mwiza wansigiye ebyiri zungutse izindi ebyiri shebuja ati bagaragu banje beza nuko kuko mwakiranutse muri bike nico gitumye mbegurira byinshi ico nimuze mwinjire mu munezero wa shobuja maze wa wundi wahawe itarantimwe itagiriye kabiri adatera hejuru azayivovota cane ati databuja narinzi kuri umunyamwaga usarura utabibye na munagane itaranto narayitavye mu butaka dore ngiyo ufata ibyawe maze shebuja aramusubiza ati mbe mugaragu mubi niko wamunyabutewe esi ni wari ukwiye kuyiha abagenza maze nkasangaho inyungu yayo nuko shebuja arayimwambura ayigabira wa wundi wungutse itarani 10 igiye mu zindi agira 11 kuko ufite wese azongererwa ariko udafite azanyagwa n'utwo yari afite maze wa mugaragu mubi baramuboha bamujugunya mu mwijima hanze azize ubupfapfa mbega agahinda we itaranto yawe yikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye itaranto yawe yikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye mbese gufasha abakene gusura abarwayi ibikorwa by'urukundo gushigikirana imirimo myiza igihe twahawe aya mafaranga nizo taranto twasigiwe ngo zigire umumaro igihe tukiriho itaranto yawe iyikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye itaranto yawe iyikoreshe neza igira umumaro mu gihe gikwiye
I want you to share with us, from your experiences, you've been going quite a lot, traveling around the world and seeing these things in different, countries. What would you share with us today that we can pick from your experiences where you've been going, that we can do down here at home and make it better in Africa, and which Abdul can pick, lessons from to go back and continue to impact the lives of people in these communities? Yes.
Yeah, I think when we as we said at the beginning, like we are, as a community of citizens, we always like to be inspired.
Yeah.
And graffiti normally is about inspiration.
Yes.
You might say a piece of mask, a piece of, but for example, for me, when I see most of the graffiti work, much of this work is conceptual, it's abstract. People don't understand it.
Yeah.
But if we could start from the area where people understand, like for some of our icons, just imagine in Kawempe you have a beautiful graffiti wall of Geoffrey Oriema, of Philip Bongole Utaya, of Paul Cafero, of Fred Sebata. All these, like Peterson.
I think he has one already there of
Peterson. But then, of course, great piece. Great piece. But then
it's a recent thing. We need to do something.
So we're looking at like how can we also start presenting work that is going to inspire our people, people that people need to remember. Like Peterson Mutebi, like Mr. Segamwenge, all these people, the Byron Kawadwas. There are so many Ugandans that are very, very people are attached to. Just for example, like if GNL is emotionally attached to his graffiti wall mural, and then what is he going to do? He'll push it. He'll push his wall. So if Cliff Mutebi comes and sees his father's mural of Peterson Mutebi on the wall, he'll push it because he finds it that inspiration. And that's meaning that you're growing your community. You're not just skilling them with hands-on, but you're also empowering them to feel proud of who they are and who are their parents or their ancestors are. So I think we need to start looking at how do we celebrate our own? How do we celebrate? I like the Rwandan piece. And I know, because when he was explaining the love of the city, I know there has been conflict and tension between Rwanda and Uganda. It speaks volumes, but at the same time, it is detaching from the Ugandans. They're like, how do we cultivate our own people to appreciate their own history? When you look at bigger cities, they always find those people that are very related or connecting to them. The conceptualization is also about, because there's someone saying that, no, I need to speak my mind, but you also need to connect to the community.
Thank you.
How does the community relate to this kind of work? This mural, which is at Alliancia, was done by a German team. But you find the way they were trying to create, in its abstract, they also try to bring in the Ugandan aspect of it by having the crane in as part of the concept. So how do we connect our work to cultivate the love and the appreciation of our own communities, and also try to grow, make it as much better and much, sophisticated